This show has over 300 listens. Jesus Christ, Joe. That's it.
Ah, I didn't know if you wanted me to respond. That was there was an awkward moment where I was like, oh, am I getting in on the bit? I didn't know what to
That
do.
was the bit.
Okay. Thank fuck. I love it when things are not expected of me.
Exactly. Don't worry. This is literally the podcast where nothing's expected from anybody. Not even you. Yeah, you. I don't see you because it's an audio only podcast, but even if I could see you, there's nothing expected of you. Welcome to Silly Wales. This is a mental health podcast. It says on the little cover, we discuss topics that might be a little bit touchy. Things like mental health conditions, mental health struggles, things like ADHD, depression, all of the conditions wrapped into one. We can touch on that. This podcast is for everyone, but it might not be for you, and that is okay. We're not going to come for you because we have over 300 listens. I think we actually crossed that threshold a while back. I just forgot to celebrate it, just like we forgot our 10th episode to celebrate that, which will be going up at some point soon. So, Joe, the idea of celebrating the 11th episode.
Yay, episode 11. We finally made it. We're in the
Yeah, to
new
be honest,
decade, the new 10.
like 10th birthday is all well and good, right? But isn't your 11th birthday when you're in secondary school?
Yeah, basically. Like, is 10 like year 5 or year 6? It's depending, but it's not a particularly momentous moment. I don't think
11,
so.
11 is something special.
Yeah.
When you turn 11, you're like, hey, I'm strong enough to send you to heaven. That I'm going to the Hague. Cool.
Wow. Yeah. Hang yourself, why don't you?
When they look through the annals of history, my name will be among the worst of our kind. For that alone. Oh dear.
Shake that off. Okay.
Yeah. This is a John episode. We talk about our weeks. I I feel like I want you to start because I actually cannot remember what happened this week.
Okay, I'll give you some time. So it's 2nd of April now. So in the UK, we just had our Easter. And it was, depending on your job, and depending on your situation, obviously it's Easter is Easter. And for most of my life, that has been true. This year has been very much a deviation from that because not only was I working what I normally work, I was also, which went over the Easter, so I didn't have any time off. I didn't celebrate Easter at all. Essentially, like I haven't really, I didn't see my family. I haven't done anything like that. But also, I worked even more than normal. I worked Easter Monday as well. So, however, so the interesting thing about this whole thing is I expected this weekend to be an absolute like slugfest and in terms of how exhausted I would be and in terms of the amount of work I was going to be doing, the amount of customers we'd have, etc. And some of those were still there, but I have to admit that the series of days just gone, have actually went by really quite well. And I've talked about this in the past on this podcast and outside, but like when you're feeling good, it is just a cheat code for life. When you're feeling good, nothing really is that bad because I should be clear. Lots of things are really fucking bad even when you're feeling good because they'll stop making you feel good real quick. But what I mean is that the day-to-day experience is so much easier and work is much easier and everything feels much easier. And even like communication and broaching topics and stuff, because I went into this expecting it to be like, to wear me down. But I actually came out of it feeling like I got a bit of extra money and I really felt like it was like a normal work week. And not only that, but I almost enjoyed Easter Sunday when we just had a ton of staff in, to take on the fact that there were going to be a load of people there. And it actually was great. Like I had a good time. I had more fun on that shift than I normally have just because there were people to talk to. I got to do stuff I don't normally get to do. And I got to flex a bit of my organization, not my organization muscle, that's incorrect. but like my sort of almost managing or like planning muscle of like in terms of like back at the warehouse and like storing things and everything. And I actually ended up coming out of this whole thing like really good. Like I felt great today. I felt great yesterday as well. We'll go into that a bit more as well. But actually didn't have a bad time, which I was super expecting. So I'm super fucking happy for that. Like it is. There's no way of describing it. I think when it goes well for you, it goes well, and and there's you can be you can. All I feel is like gratitude and grateful it did. So awesome for that.
Well, thing really, like, I think it was good because I can't actually remember what happened in my own week, so I can't really relate to what you're saying. Well, like, I'm like, what happened in my week?
Well, that's just
Um,
it, right? Like that's my point. I suppose is that it's the fact that it went well for me is not something I can like distribute to other people necessarily because obviously you're in a completely different situation to me. But it is one of those moments where I'm like, I'm so happy it did go well, and I'm so happy that I felt good generally throughout. Like especially with mental health, the worry is beyond just the circumstances around you, but that you'll experience those circumstances in the worst way possible, and that it will accumulate, and that you'll come out of it with just the worst feeling and the feeling of like, oh, thank God I'm out of that. But also I'm going back to it again next week, like because I worked an extra day, I have one less day off and everything like that. Like, if it had not gone well, this journal episode would be a much different energy for me personally. And going forward over the next week, it would be a much different energy, a very different energy. So that's the core value of it, I suppose, I'm just so happy that I managed to get past the I managed to be on the upswing, I guess, or I managed to be in a good place at the time when stuff started happening to me, because that meant that I got through it and actually came out of it feeling better as a result of having been better during it, I guess. Like, it's a snowball effect of it. So yeah, I obviously condolences to anyone who didn't have that experience. Easter is not necessarily a good time for people in certain jobs and certain businesses. So like, fair enough. But it like coming out of it, the fact that I feel so much better is like, yeah.
I called you on Easter Sunday, and I was like, hey, you're not working because Tesco should be closed or whatever, right? And you're like, yeah, I am. And I was like, the fuck is happening here? And like, it shows how detached I am from business marketing and how it all is. Like, in my honest opinion, still on a Sunday, like most supermarkets, regardless of whether they're big or small, are closed. So yeah, it got me into a bit of like, I don't know why I got really like upset on your behalf, and I was like, how could they do this? How could they keep him here? We used to be kings. like, like it's just like, and I was baffled by it. I
Yeah,
think
well,
my week. No,
no,
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say shops are a weird one in that respect, and in particular in this case, you weren't wrong. Like the big Tesco's was closed, for example, on that day. It's just the way the expresses are handled, the way that the small shops are handled is very different. There's no Sunday times. There's no difference in terms of what a Sunday looks like compared to any other weekday. And when it comes to holiday stuff, I think the only one that has like supreme command is like Christmas, where it's like Christmas is not open and that's it. Any other day of I was working Christmas Eve last year, so there's no, which obviously if you don't work in that industry, then to you like a bank holiday and to you like a Sunday and things like that, they wouldn't, you'd never experience them that way. But then you go to a shop and clearly at some point someone is working in order for you to be able to go to the shop that day. So it's not a disconnect or anything like that, I think, or just like a stupidity thing. It's just more a case of like the world in different scenario. Unless we used to live in a world, this country used to be one of those places where on Sunday everything would be closed. It was the Sabbath, no one was working, right? And in certain countries that's still kind of true in Europe, although to a much lesser extent now. But like the it turns out that, and I didn't know this before I went to work for Tesco, that the expresses just don't care about that. The expresses just keep open anyway. So yeah, like no worries, because I didn't believe it before I went there. I was like, why are they open from 6 to 11? What the fuck? Like, or 6 to 12 even. Like, why are we open that long on a Sunday? What? But for some reason, they just keep it going that way. I guess it's just because it's a smaller place, there's less they have to upkeep for, and so on, compared to like a big shop where they're not necessarily expecting as much, or whatever. It's a bigger cost to do it, and maybe they need the Sunday for something, whereas they expect the smaller shops to have to pick up the slack way more than with other shops, just generally. So I don't know. I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't have made that decision. But I believe I did get some more money. I believe I got like 25% more or something like that, which isn't much, but I got something, I think.
Jesus. Like, yeah, I guess that's because I think my week went wrong. Well, I didn't even go wrong. My week didn't get off to the good start because last week I thought I was going to be on like Easter break, so I wasn't going to be working. Turns out I was wrong completely, and I was still working in school. So I got my whole week was destabilized from that. And then when we reached Thursday, I was like, okay, cool. School's gonna break up and all that stuff. Life is easy, and then it got slightly easier from there. But it was all just a bit of a like a whirlwind. Like it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm cycling a lot more again, so it's a lot of okay, cool, we're here. And I was trying to be social. I went to like the like school's over, drinks, Weatherspoons or whatever. like
Yeah. As we know,
I did
teachers
that.
love to drink.
Yeah, they do. But even then, like I'm such a I like the fact that I have a reputation of being very quiet.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. But I like it and I want to keep it for the foreseeable future. I think that there's a lot to be said about speaking when you're spoken to or speaking when necessary. And I'm happy it's taken me 20 years to learn it, I'll say. Because, I was 6 years old, I probably should know. I probably shouldn't really know when to speak and when not to speak. But it took me a very long time to learn that. I'm like, hey, here we are, here we are.
To be honest, so many adults I come across don't know that at all. Have no concept of that.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I listen to that and I'm like, mate, you're ahead of the curve. Don't worry. Like, genuinely.
I think my mean set back more than other people. Like my mouth has gotten me into trouble, not because of like, oh, he's writing checks, is like his hands can't cash. No, that's not a problem at all. It's more like I am in the bank, I'm writing all the checks, I'm throwing them, but they can be cashed, and like people will just say mean things about you in return. Like that's it. But like you might be making jokes that don't land well, and people take it rather than confronting you about the joke and be like, "Hey, this isn't cool." They then go, "Oh, we don't like him," and then all of a sudden, "Oh, look, a clique of people don't like you." And I've now seen that happen at various workplaces and various social groups. I'm glad that's not me, But
What is so? What was your weekend like, by the way? So, like, the whole thing, Friday onward and Thursday onward.
so like, what happened? Um, I went to the gym with my good buddy Michael. Uh, he's been trying to he signed up for a gym membership. So like throughout the week, we went to the gym. We went to the gym on Monday. I don't think we went on Tuesday. Don't think we went on Wednesday either. But we did go on Thursday. Yeah, we went on Thursday, and like that helped me get back in the gym as well. So then Friday was something happened on Friday. I actually don't know what happened on Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday was going to the gym, which I rarely ever do on a weekend. And Sunday was like watching the Arsenal game. That was the bulk of it. And all of those days of the evening where I had to walk my dog Freya, and it was just like cool. They all had a fairly chill time. There was nothing like eventful that I would say happened. Um, like I didn't get the job I applied for, which is
Oh, that's a
sucks.
shame.
But
Yeah.
like it wasn't like yeah. It's just that's sad and annoying. But nothing overwhelmingly eventful happened. I think I'm now in a state where I want to complete games of this Easter break. So I've completed Spider-Man 2. That is one.
Nice.
That is important. I'm going to finish my Arsenal save on Football Manager. I have I think 12 to 15 games left with my Arsenal save. We're in 2028, I think, or 2029, and I want to finish that save so I can start a new save where I become an ultra capitalist. I buy out a football team in the National League, and I rename them Red Bull London, and then,
Yeah.
and then as part of the Red Bull franchise, and then you know we go from there. I want to type Red Bull London into Google because if it's a thing, like I just want to make sure that no one else has had this idea, for example, because I might edit that out of the podcast because I want to actually make a series on it later on. Who knows, eh?
I feel like it must live somewhere.
Um. Okay, no, it does exist.
Okay.
It very much. So someone has already done it. It's fine. But yeah. So like Red Bull London, make that. I'm gonna make you in it as a player. I'm gonna be a player. Like Ryan, you're gonna be a player. So at some point in the next couple of days, I'm gonna message Ryan and be like, "Where you play football? What position do you play?" And he's gonna be like, "This position, whatever." I think defender he was, and then I'm just not gonna follow up on it again until he listens.
Wait, so
Uh,
am I competing? Well, unless you're just going to fundamentally make me completely different, am I competing with Ryan for defender titles?
well, Joe, you can have multiple defenders on a football pitch,
I
man.
understand that. I am aware of how football works. What I mean is like if I'm not up to it, then Ryan is going to take my position. Is what you're saying?
I don't think you guys played the same place on the pitch either. I think I don't know. I can't remember where I played you when because this is gaming talk, but I had FIFA 14 and 15, I think it was the Creation Center, and I had Joe on there as well as Tolga and other people from like our old friendship circle and new friendship circles. And I think I played you as because you were really fast. I made you really quick, like like because I had this idea that you were really quick. You had like 80 something pace, and you were centre back. For some reason, you
Oh,
were six
okay.
foot two, but like,
Yeah, well, immediately too short, clearly. But
so
I
yeah,
it
I
is
think
funny to me, like as you talk about it, I realize that you play a lot of games in which you can just take your friend circle and just put them in the game. Like
oh
like
yeah,
you played WWE games, and you would make a character for all of us. You played the football games and make characters for all
yeah,
of us.
yeah. I love that stuff. Like, I had Fire Pro Wrestling like I still have it like 4 or 5 years ago, and you could make your own promotion. So I made my own promotion. I think I had like me and you as tag team champions by accident. We were supposed to be like a team that loses every single match,
Oh yeah.
and then, and then we won like an epic like 20-minute match, which was embarrassing for everyone involved. Because I was playing against us as well. I was trying to beat us down. Like, yeah. Anyway, like, so yeah, I did
The
that
new
again.
sorry, complete aside, and also again, this is all an aside. It feels like, but I will say the new WWE game. I've seen someone play it. It has Muhammad Ali in it.
That's it.
It does. I'm not joking. It does. They put. I don't know why. It's also got Peacemaker in it for fuck's sake. So I don't know. I
I
mean,
think that's to
obviously,
create a character. There's no way that they're actually.
no, they definitely didn't create it. I know the people who played it. They didn't create
Oh
Muhammad
my
Ali.
goodness. Yes, he is.
He's
Yes,
in
he
the
is.
why I don't know. It's weird. Like we were talking about Muhammad Ali in another episode, and then suddenly it just suddenly comes up. It's bizarre. I was like, what? Really? In WWE? But I don't
Like,
know.
okay, fair enough. I fair. Um, but yeah, yeah. So then I'm gonna sink my teeth into that, and it's gonna be fun. But then I'm also gonna finish Sunset Overdrive, which is one of my favorite games. I've always maintained it's one of my favorite games. I only ever got like 25% of the way through, but I love the vibe. I love the whole thing about it. I had it on Xbox One, and then I just never finished it. So I'm gonna finish that. I've started it again. It's on my PC or laptop. Gonna play through that game. Then from there, I might tempt. It depends on how I feel. I either play Street Fighter 6 or I might get Starfield. I forgot to mention I completed Halo Infinite as well.
Oh,
Halo Infinite. I completed the story mode for that, and I was like, oh my goodness, this game is really good. But people just didn't really like it. So yeah, but really good. Boom. Yeah. This is Alex's gaming corner. Who would have thought? Like, but
Well,
yeah,
listen,
I've
this is
got
what you
like a
this is
backdrop.
what you're doing. It makes you feel good. It's fine.
Like, that alongside Muay Thai and going to the gym and things like that, it's a good setup for the week or two I have like, off work. Um, there's so many games I have to finish though. Like I have to get my Switch up and running to play Pokemon Legends Arceus and to complete I can't remember what it's called. It's a dungeon crawler game on the Switch. It's not Moonshiner, is it?
Moonshine.
Like something like that. Like
It's probably not called Moonshine. I'm just going to say that now.
probably not. Like it's a game where you have a dungeon and like you sell items that you get in the dungeon in your little shop, and you it's like really fun. There's a like Moonlighter, that's it.
I was about to say moonlighting is a term, so it's probably called like Moonlight or something. Moonlighter,
Yeah,
cool.
Moonlighter, yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
Excellent little fun game. I got to the last dungeon of that one, stopped playing it. So, Tears of the Kingdom, haven't even finished that game either. You know, there's so many you have to play, so I want to do them all. I want to do everything.
So you had this week off, but then you did you say you had 2 weeks off?
Maybe I don't actually know. You know,
Okay, you might, you may not. I
yeah,
mean,
I
if you're
couldn't
gonna
actually
catch
tell you.
up, then yeah, this is the time
Yeah.
to do it.
Um, here's something wild here. Just looking for our stats. 4 downloads from Vietnam.
Ooh, nice.
Like,
I
and
realize I don't know any Vietnamese in any way other than pho,
yeah,
and that's not saying much.
we also got two from Australia. I don't want to say good day because I'll just be
I
weird.
know you. I know you're gonna. I was like, "Good day,
Yeah, nah.
crikey."
There we
No,
go. But yeah. So that's how I'm spending my week, as well as just I haven't written any poetry in nearly like proper like wrote more than a few lines in about a month and like since pretty much like early February. I haven't written anything, nor have I like performed anything or done anything. I've just been struggling to get my head in the zone for it. Maybe that's probably what's needed. Really, is separation, and then full steam ahead back into it, and then separation, full steam ahead, separation. Seems to be how my mind works with certain things. It's like I go, I can't put it any better. Balls deep until there's like nothing left, and then I pull out, and then and then I wait till I'm interested again.
so you're sort of like a burnout or overheat kind of person, is what you're saying. Like you just go
Yep.
until you can't, until literally it starts exploding, and then you have to fix it again, and then it will come back.
And then we got back into it. That all sounded very hypersexual of the things. Yeah, we're going to the Hague. You know,
We've never done. I've never said anything that's hypersexual on this podcast ever.
in fairness, maybe not. Who knows?
um,
Um,
I no, that's good. Sorry, please keep going.
no, you
Unless you,
go.
okay. No, I was just going to talk about. So there is one thing that happened over the past week that is momentous. Isn't the right word, but it's a big thing for me. Which was last night actually. I so I last week I think I was talking to you about it, and I decided that I was gonna apply for or not apply. I was going to book a taster session at the rock climbing center near here. It's called Red Point in Worcester for those who aren't aware, but um, it's it's a rock climbing place, and I I booked it. The only times offered were either on like Monday, Thursday, or Saturday. Saturday is not possible. It is possible, but it's awkward. Thursday is also really awkward. Monday was awkward, but I knew that the day wouldn't should hopefully not be too bad, and I thought let's just do it as quickly as possible. And also I'll have days to recover afterwards if something if I exert myself too much or whatever because I'm not used to rock climbing. Because rock climbing is difficult. It's really fun. So I did the taster session. It was really quite it was quite funny because the way it was explained to me was like, oh, it's in the evening, for people to go after work if they're interested in getting a membership or otherwise. And it's we'll take it on a bunch of people, so you'll be in like a group and stuff like that. I got there. I was the only person for this taster session.
What?
I was the only person because no one else booked that day. So there were like six. When I booked it, there were like it said there were like six available, like six position openings available, and I booked it, but no one else did. So I went there, and I was the only one that was doing it. So I just got to have a one-on-one taster session with this person, who led me around. But it meant that I did way more climbing than in a normal taster session because I did all of it rather than multiple people doing a wall or whatever, where obviously you can only do it like one at a time. And it was so good. It was so good. Like I have no fear of heights like at all. And there was a 12. I think she said there was a 12 or 13 meter wall. I can't remember. Was the tallest one? So I went up probably like an 11 meter wall or 12 meter wall at one point with a rope and stuff like that. And my God, like going up there was man, it for those who like don't do it or have never really done it that much, it's hard to explain because it's a mixture of like a puzzle and body mechanics, right? Like it's both of those, which are both things I find really interesting and enjoyable. And also, if you enjoy the feeling of like being in high places and stuff like that, like it then just combines it with like you have a goal of getting to a high spot and everything else, and so you just have this like trifecta of beauty for me, where I'm like, okay, so I can only use this colored handholds, like the handholds they have on it, they're all colored. And they're colored differently. For those who actually don't do it very much, they might not realize that you're meant to use one color. Like you can do rainbow where you use all of them, but like the way that you do a wall is that you approach it and you see all of the ones, like you choose a single color, and it will normally have like a grading system at the bottom. So if you do yellow, that's considered F5B or whatever for this particular wall, which is just a grading system. It's the French grading system I learned yesterday. And you go up it, and you only can use those handholds. You have to ignore everything else, which is a difficulty in its own right, because genuinely trying to figure out where you can actually go is a part of the trick of it. So I was going up purple on one wall, black on that wall as well, and I went up like a red on one wall, or like blue or something like that, and a yellow on another. And it's such a good feeling, like because you go up, because you can work it all out from the bottom. Like if you watch people who have done it for a long time and they're very good, they'll like sort of physically move their hands around if they're not sure what they're if they're trying to work it out, especially if it's difficult. They'll probably like move their hands because they're imagining doing it the whole way up and thinking where your body is placed and everything. I'm not quite good enough to visualize the entirety of it. I can visualize part of it, and then I'm like, okay, or I can visualize where my arms go, but I can't visualize what my legs are doing. So I start clambering up these, and just the moment to moment thing where you're in it and you're like, okay, where do I go from here? And like finding the moments where you can rest. Like there are literally moments where your body's in a good position. You're like, okay, now where do I go? And there's this whole little like puzzle solving thing you're doing on top of working your endurance, working your like the muscle groups required for climbing, which is pretty full and intensive. Like I've like at the moment, most of the tension, like most of it's faded from my arms, because my forearms have definitely gotten stronger. It feels like from when I used to do this for a tiny bit. But my back is the thing that I'm noticing the most, is like which means I need to work on my abs. Basically, my abs need to get stronger so it can support my back. But like that whole, it's a full body workout. Probably the thing it works the least is your legs, until you get to a certain point where your legs definitely become really important to hold you in ways that, like, if you go and watch YouTube videos of rock climbers at like high level, it's stupid. Like the way what they're doing, doesn't look like it makes any sense. Like it just doesn't. But they're doing things like, especially bouldering, which is a particular kind of rock climbing, which it doesn't use ropes at all. It's all free climb. And you're like upside down in bits, and you're like moving around sections. I even saw, it was even a really cool video of like this one woman who, and she was like young, like probably 17, or maybe she was like 21, I'm not quite sure, but she'd broken her arm, and she did a whole thing without using one of her arms. And she was doing this thing, and I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like what she just did, I could not do. Even like I couldn't get to the first obstacle that was the main, like, oh my God, what the fuck are you meant to do there obstacle with all four limbs, and she did it with three. And I'm like, Jesus. But it's amazing. it's amazing to watch. It's such a good spectator thing as well as being something good to engage in yourself, because you're nothing short of impressed by what other people are doing, and there's a freedom in being able to move. Like the freedom of being able to be like, oh, I can get to there. It's a bit like or at least for me, the one thing I like about running, I hate running, I should be clear, but the one thing I like about running is the idea, the conceptual idea of being able to get from somewhere to another place so quickly without needing anything and having that freedom. And the fact that someone can can go from one town to another town really far away just by running there is extraordinary to me and really cool. And in the same vein where it's like, okay, I can, that place all the way up there doesn't evade me. I'm not limited to the ground here. I can get up there, and that's super. Parkour is the same thing. Like, I love watching parkour, and I want to get into parkour again. There isn't like a parkour place that I know of. There is a place that I've seen, but I'm not quite sure about it. But in the same vein, it's like you can get from this place to this place, and there's nothing stopping you. Like, your body is all you need. There's no restriction, no limitation. And so, man, it was so fun. I would recommend it for people, like, even if you think you wouldn't like it, just to try it out. And you will find it difficult. Like, the one thing that's hitting me is how difficult it is, because especially bouldering, because without a rope and without like a B layer, like pulling you up slightly, there's nothing. Gravity is entirely on you. All of your weight you're having to shift properly. Otherwise, your muscles cannot hold out for very long, and you're having to work within that constraint. And there's so much technique to it all to be efficient and to not like and to do like moves smoothly and things like that in such a way where if you fail you don't just immediately fall and things like that. Obviously really like soft areas underneath you. It's designed for you to possibly fall. It's just, generally speaking, you do have a lot more control than you think you do. It's only if you do something kind of stupid or go for a crazy move that you're likely to fail in such a way where bad things are going to happen. You do have to be careful, but it's on you. It's all on you, right? And everyone's there to support you. It's a very supportive sport, from what I understand, and supportive pastime. So with all of that said and done, I am looking to get a membership.
Yeah.
The weird thing is doing it is going on my own, right? Like, for sure. Like, I'm telling people about it to maybe get them interested in coming with me with a guest membership, because I get like an extra. I think I get 2 opportunities to basically bring a guest along, so for free, so I can get people to come with me and stuff like that on occasion, like every month. But most of the time, I'm going to be there. If I go like twice a week or something like that, I'm going to be there on my own. I'm just going to have to start socializing with people and talking to people about what they're doing and things like that, and explaining I'm a newbie and stuff, and I'm really interested in that. Which, you never know. You get different kinds of people that may or may not be interested in talking to you about it, or that you'll get people that are really supportive. And I think martial arts, I remember this from martial arts when I did Muay Thai a long, long time ago, almost half of my life ago now. And you will know this for sure because you're currently doing martial arts, that there's an odd form of solidarity and support for one another to get better. Like, there's a real interest in getting better, and everyone kind of supports and like wants to show off what they can do and how you can do your thing better and things like that. And everyone kind of wants to engage in that process, which I'm looking forward to, and hopefully I will find some people and maybe make some friends while I'm there. To have a bit more of a community and a bit more of a social space here, because I've only just recently moved here, and it's I don't have too many people that I would be like I could call up and be like, oh, let's hang out, and that's been an option in certain places, but like, I'm not necessarily the best at doing that, and especially if it's like through a Facebook group or something, I'm shite. So I can't. I'm not going to fundamentally engage with it. But if I'm going somewhere and there are people who are like-mindedly interested in something, and it's like I can start talking to them, then hopefully it'll be really good. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm using the good energy from this past week to like push me forward with this and like really go for it. So I'm planning to. I don't know how the membership works. I'll look into it when I should get it, whether I should just get it now or whether it's better to get it next week or something like that when I'm about to go. But I'm going to do it. I'm saying it now. I'm doing it. and I'm going to be actually do something that will make me fitter and healthier as a person. Oh God, because I really do need to improve that.
Like, so what I like is that you've found, because you've been talking about doing rock climbing for fucking years, man. like it's not even like a new thing. It's not like you went, hey, rock climbing, I'll give it a go. No, you've been talking about wanting to do that for ages, even like before, like you were serious about moving and leaving London. Like, so look at you, you're doing it. It's like a thing. But yeah, as you said about like supportive groups of people, yeah, like from my understanding is that it's really weird to encounter someone who doesn't support you while at the thing that they're also doing. Like at Muay Thai, if a guy is like getting frustrated or annoyed at you for not like doing something right, it's really weird and off-putting because, well, in order for all of us to develop and learn, you need to make sure that the people you're fighting with are also learning alongside with you. So it's beneficial for everyone involved that everyone understands what's going on. Like during sparring, I'll often get tips from more experienced fighters, especially when I'm in the clinch, and they'll be like, "Hey, I can elbow you right here, just like this." So what you want to do is you want to hold my tricep and control it. Like you want to control my arms. You don't want to just have your arm there, 'cause I can elbow you. You want to control my arms. And you're thinking, but then if they can elbow you, they should just elbow you. No, the whole point is if I'm a better defender, then they become a better attacker.
Mhm.
So it's beneficial for everyone involved if I'm better every single time. Because that means they have to get better every single time. It's called learning. Who would have thought?
It's
But
also
like,
your passion, right? Like that's the thing. It's
yeah,
like the one thing I think that probably everyone, well, maybe not everyone. I can imagine people who are just up in their own arse and don't want to do it, but the I I think there's a quite a largely universal experience where when you're really interested in something and really like something, and then someone comes along who is like a student essentially to you in a way because they're interested as well and they want to get better, and you have the answers, and or you have some of the answers, and it's like, oh, young young student, come here and let me tell you of and let me tell you of my wisdom and all of the things, even if you're not that good, right? Like even if you're just better than them, like if you're pretty new, you've been doing it for 6 months or whatever, and you're surrounded by like people who've done it for 4 years, you're still like, oh yeah, come, let me show you, because you want to tell people what you've learned, you want to show off what you've learned and stuff, and you want to feel good about yourself. So there's definitely like I definitely expect that to be the case. It's more that I'm just wondering how it's going to play out, because I'm obviously going to have to go in there, and if there is a bunch of people, which I'm kind of hoping for, then because I asked like what times people are generally more there, then I need to be like pretty forward in my advancement of being like, hey, I'm new here, like you guys, I'm loving what you guys are doing, but also choosing people who maybe are not so high level compared to me that it's a bit too disjointed, like where I can stand with them watching and doing something without feeling like I'm just without them getting annoyed that I'm taking up their time, like, because that's also a thing, because with a rock wall, obviously you can only go up if you're doing a I forget what they call it, but if you're doing a run, then I think it's just called a wall. If you're doing a wall, then obviously someone else can't do it at the same time, both for safety reasons, but also just because they're in your way. So like, there's a part of me that's like, okay, well, oh, can I ever go? And I want to be like that, but then I'm also like, okay, but if you can't do it, just bow out. Like, don't take up too much time, but show that you're interested, show that you're engaged. At least that's how I'm gonna try to approach it as best as possible. Like, have a go, but like immediately show immediately, like, not try and take up too much time and space, because otherwise you just become a bit annoying, right? You don't want to constantly take up the sparring arena constantly when there are other people who also want to spar, right? Like, it's just that kind of level of politeness and understanding of that everyone is wanting to do it, everyone wants to be involved. At least that's how I'm initially like thinking about this.
well, luckily the sparring you have like a mat, the mat where you can have how it normally goes for us anyway is like three there'll be 3 minute round, and you just partner up with somebody, and then once it's finished, 20 seconds to breathe and rest, and then you pair up with somebody else. Um, like there's guys who just don't take any breaks throughout that whole time. There's guys who take a couple of breaks during the rounds. My first session I didn't take a single break, and I regret it horrifically because I was just getting pieced up. even when I was fresh, I was getting pieced up. So then when I was tired, I was getting pieced up even more. So now I am at the point where I'm taking maybe 2 or 3 breaks and I'm fresher between rounds. And it's really like it's good to see my general improvement against guys who were originally like just like guys who were just
Yeah.
like throwing kicks. And I was like, now I'm like, oh look at me checking your kick. I'm responding with a kick of my own. Like and there's a mutual chuckle because like, hey, you couldn't do that 2 weeks ago, and now you can do it. Who would have thought, eh? Or like, me performing a sweep on somebody and then going, hey, you nearly got me. And I'm like, I did, and then they just sweep me entirely. I'm like, great. Like, because I'm also difficult to sweep because I'm big
Big
and
boy.
I yeah, I have no balance for myself, no coordination for myself. But for some reason, that is like makes it near impossible to sweep me in that way. I say that. Watch my first like actual fight, I'd get swept 5 times in 5 minutes. Like,
100%. 100%.
uh, like I'm gonna get swept out of the ring. But yeah, I think if you just go into rock climbing with just the mentality of I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna enjoy this, like it will happen. Like, I don't even care about getting other people to come and join you. Just enjoy it yourself, man. Like make it your thing that you do for yourself, and like you don't need an external friend from somewhere else to come along with you.
Oh,
Because you'll
I,
make
I,
friends there.
yeah. Well, that's the thing as well. It's not a cheap thing to do. I mean, the thing with gyms now, or I think what really pushed gyms towards more and more people was the fact that they started like reducing the price of it relative. They started getting quite competitive about the pricing, and I think that you can, and to an extent, there are people who wouldn't have gone to the gym who are much more likely to consider it when you're looking at 20 quid a month or something like that compared to 40 quid or something like that. So there's definitely that aspect. And me going here, I know it's going to be like it's a bit of there's money going into it, and I know that I'm not going to get any amount of worth out of it if I don't go regularly, if I don't go every week, and if I don't go probably more than once a week, right? So I'm not intending to uh the guest thing um is more so that like I can have days where I go and I don't have to I don't have to necessarily engage with as many other people, and also just to in this case it might be someone from work, right? Like not even Kessis, who I obviously know very well, but like someone from work who will come with me who's also interested, and we can bond over that, for example. Like I like in terms of and also I can't do it that many times a week. Like if I only ever did it when I could have someone with me, I would go twice a week and that's it. To go twice a month, sorry, and that's it. So now so my hope is to very much go, and also I kind of want to go a bit more than anyone I take, because I want to have a little bit more practice with it anyway. So I'm kind of motivated to get better. Um, what's fun about the idea of it, and also I should be clear as well, another thing that has made this much easier, because the reason I think I didn't do it in London was somewhat to do with where it was and distance and things like that. It makes it much harder to motivate yourself to do it. Whereas this place is, less than 15 minutes walk away, right? Even more like can be like 12 minutes or something like that walk away. So for me, it's so much easier to just be like, okay, well, I can go. I don't have to rely on anything. I don't have to pay anything extra to go there, like to actually get to it. I don't have. I know I can get home really easily and things like that. And of course, I'm fasting right now. Like beyond that, I can actually, it will be even easier to, have some food, go there, and then I could even go back home and then go back out again. I could go multiple times in a day because the membership just allows you to go whenever during it. And it's like 10 to 10. So it's open until 10 o'clock in the evening, which is pretty unusual, I feel. Or at least to me, that seemed unusual for something like a center like that, a rock climbing center, to be able to go that late. It almost reminds me of like people who go to the gym after 10, for example, at night, and like, and things like that. Like, I think that was also a big thing for people being able to go at really weird times was a big thing. Um,
Yeah.
so I like that. Like that's a big deal for me. Like I could go in the morning and I could go home, do some stuff for a while, and then I could go back at 7, 8 o'clock in the evening and do it again and enjoy it until it closes. Try and do some stuff on my own, like really specifically when most of the people aren't there, and just enjoy it. And I, I'm gonna try. I'm saying I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make as much use of it as possible initially to really sink my teeth into it, and to use it as like, hey, instead of doing this other thing I don't want to do, which I will do habitually, I'm going to specifically go out of my way to anytime I feel like I want to do that, instead I'm going to go to the rock climbing. I'm going to go and do that because of the freedom I will have of a membership. I can just go and do it. And after the taste session, I think the taste session was really good because I got acclimated to just the space, and I didn't feel, and I feel like I'd be very not nervous going in. Like, I've spoken to a few people that work there, including the person who was giving me the session and everything. Like, at least there are a few familiar faces there that I can, be conversational with. And I've also realized I have become conversationally better, but I don't realize I have. I don't feel that I am, but I am actually better in conversation and in talking with people without necessarily going into small talk, right? And the so like doing all of that and going there like a couple times has now got me used to the idea of going there and actually doing it, because I think a big thing of me is expectation. Both the way I think about things can make me not want to do them because my expectations will negatively affect the experience, or no, the motivation to go to it, because my expectations are like, what do I need to do and what do I need to be. Whereas if I go to somewhere and then I come back and I go there and I come back, it's, the third time when I'm actually properly doing it, it's like, okay, well, I know where it is. I know what it looks like. I know what to expect. I know I've even, glad-handed, if you will, with a couple people. So I know that they exist there and they work there. Like, what else do I have at this point? And it's just other people who are also engaging in the sport. And I feel like that's by far the easiest and obviously a great way to, socialize and meet people who have some like-mindedness in some way, and definitely get like sort of, tutoring and learning and stuff like that. Because I've obviously got like a physical limitation at the moment in that I'm not quite fit enough and strong enough to do certain things. But the technical side of that stuff is something I cannot learn at all without doing it and without like meeting people to explain stuff to me. And even if it's just a case, because there was this one time, sorry, I'm going on this a lot, I know, but there was this one moment where
Good.
Where I was doing something and I couldn't figure out what I was meant to do. This was in the bouldering section. Bouldering is more like power oriented and technically difficult, generally speaking. So it's like, is it everything I'm not very good at the moment? It's just more difficult in that sense. Like, once you've done it, it's over, and there's less endurance you have to do, but you got to get it right. And there was a bit I was doing, and I was like, and I said to her, like, how could you do it for me? Like, could you show me how you would do it? Because I don't understand like how I would, like, I don't understand what you were telling me when you were on the bottom and I was doing it. And I don't know what I would have to do. And she did it, and I was like, oh, okay, so she did it that way. Now I still couldn't do it because I lacked like the power in my, and we did it at the end, so like I probably was like fatiguing as well. But I know I don't have the muscle capable of doing it. But the technical side of like what she actually did, I wasn't thinking about, and I wasn't aware of at the time. So that was fun and enjoyable in itself. And so that those moments you have to process by watching other people and engaging with it actively, right? And so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to learning some stuff, with this, and much in the way that I would be interested, in the same way that I would be if I ended up doing like martial arts, or if I did parkour or something like that. Very similarly, that element of, okay, well, I know I've seen this thing be done, but I don't know how to perform that. I don't know how to like reflect what you've just done. And more importantly, I've also not tried reflecting what you've just done. So getting involved in that stuff is, yeah. And for me, I'm very goal oriented. The gym near me is not that expensive, but the reason I'm doing this instead, which is much more expensive than the gym, is just because I don't think I can be passionate at the gym in a way that I could be in this. And that's something that I might still get the gym as well. Like, I might do that at some point. But for now, I'm sticking to this, and I'm just going to do this alone because I because I know that my orientation is going to push me to want to do something like this, and it's more fun for me at an innate level than something like the gym, which I still kind of want to get into, especially if I like the vibe of the place and stuff. That all comes down to like personal preference, but
You
I
like with
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, in terms of like getting like yourself in like rock climbing, if you do it often enough, you won't need the gym, man. Like, the physique that you get from rock climbing and the strength that you get overall, you don't need the gym technically. Like, I'd imagine that given how much you work as well, which is a 1 minute it seems like you work a lot, 1 minute it seems like you don't work at all. But the days you do work a lot and you work the massive long hour days, you're not got the time to go to the gym and then also do like the rock climbing that you would want to do as well. So you might as well just go full hog with it. And later on, if you go, maybe lifting weights will be cool, whatever, then you can tack on the gym. But right now, Jesus Christ, you're gonna like build muscle ridiculously because you're not used to the physical taxation of rock climbing. It's like with Muay Thai, I've noticed that my body's starting to become more built in that way. So I've lost a bit of muscle in some places, like my arms, but my legs have now become slightly bigger, and my core has become slightly stronger because I have to use my core to balance so I don't get pushed over, but I still get pushed over.
Yeah, I think the gym side of stuff isn't actually about weights and stuff, because I do think that I could, because I also, this is my personal take. I'm fundamentally, if you ask me, would I rather be able to control my body really well, or would I rather be able to lift up something really heavy? I don't like. I'm about personal body control. So stuff like calisthenics is difficult and it's hard to motivate myself to do it. But if you were to get me into any kind of like physical regimen like that, calisthenics is how you would do it, because I don't have any interest in being able to lift up like a really heavy weight, right? And again, I'm not talking about whether I'm not trying to start an argument or talk about like, you know, should you like should you only do one, or is one better than the other? I don't really care about that. I merely mean that, or whether, it's still like I agree that both are useful and good and helpful, and it's more a case of just how I abstractly and innately motivated more by calisthenic stuff than I am by like weight stuff. So for me, if I went to the gym, it would mostly be to do with like cardio stuff. Like I think that's what it is, because I don't think that rock climbing does have elements of endurance, but not really like cardiovascular like uh build in the way that like swimming does. Like actually, brilliant example. If I probably go for swimming before I would go for gym in this context. Like I think the best best of all worlds for me is if I'm living, roughly where I am, and there was a swimming pool not that far, and this rock climbing center, because I love swimming and I've always enjoyed it, and it's so full body and it's very like active and very good for cardio. And then rock climbing being this more muscle oriented but also very technical and stuff, and then the gym would mean nothing to me. The gym would then provide nothing for me personally. Like I would have no intention of going. So that's probably more what I'm looking to do. Both of those are more expensive than a gym, though. Like if you were looking at this purely from a cost effective analysis, the gym is by far better than both. But neither of them are as interesting to. They're both so much more interesting to me than a gym, that I wouldn't do a gym over those two. So that, if anything, I'm probably going to be looking more into the swimming pools, the leisure centers and swimming pools here, and trying to look into whether it would be worth going to one of those. From what I know, the swimming pools aren't amazing here for that, just because they tend to be more like lesson oriented and things like that, less so for like people who just want to go and swim. And the one I'm thinking of is like quite far away. It's like 40 minutes walk or 35 minutes walk away. It's very different to if I was, going to Red Point, which is only like 15 minutes. So that's the only downside. But if I can convince myself, or if I find out that actually the swimming pool's really good or whatever, then honestly that's probably where I'll go. And that'll be like my full fitness thing that I'll do every week. And yeah, I would definitely get much fitter and better, healthier and all that stuff. And I probably feel way, way better as a result of it. I say I probably will. I will feel way better as a result of it. And that's probably more what I'm looking for now.
Yeah, like I think it's just the fact that you've started is the key thing here. Like, that's what makes me really happy to hear that like you started. Now you started the journey, then it's just about like even things like discipline or whatever. Fuck all that shit. Just go and have fun. Like and eventually we're gonna be I'll have a Muay Thai fight, you'll have a rock climbing meet. Are they called meets? I don't know what they're called, you know. But we're both going to win a medal of some sort. Like I'll have a participation trophy and you'll have gold. But it's a thought that counts, okay?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I might get then I might go to a martial arts place here. I'm not quite sure which one I would choose if I was going to. I've seen a few on around. It's definitely something I've considered. Like, there's definitely a boxing one not too far from me, which I haven't like looked into. I'm just aware that it's there, so it's possible I might do something like that. I know that you've wanted me to do martial arts for sure, and I have
anyway,
wanted to. It's just one of those. Again, you're totally right that it's about starting, right? And it's what is it? There was actually like a psychology thing that showed how it's more it's more difficult going to the gym than it is being at the gym, right? Like the motivation required to get to a gym is a bigger obstacle than the actual being at the gym itself and doing things while you're there, like the intensity of it and the feeling of it and what will more likely stop you. So I think it's in the same vein where it's like it's just the first step. It's the leap to the other side of the river or swim to the other side of the river. This analogy is falling away from me, but you get the point. The getting to that position is the major point, because then from that point it's easier to get there back and forth, right? To think, okay, I'm going to go to the gym today. And once, even if I've literally heard, like, even if you're like, I really don't want to go to the gym, even if you're like ill and you're like, I shouldn't go to the gym, walk to the gym, go in and not do very much and then go back home. Like, that is better than not going at all, just because of the like mental kind of the way you will sort of mentally make it easier and easier and easier for you to do the walk to the gym and actually go inside. And then, because when you're in a good space, when you're at the gym, you can do as much, you can do lots of stuff. And when you're like not so good, you're still there, you're still participating, and you're still working for it, and you become comfortable with the environment, you know.
like, I think it's just again, like you've taken that step and you've got that high from it as well, which is like the high I got when I first went to Muay Thai. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. Um, and like that continuous high I get, even when I have like what I'll call bad sessions. Yeah, Lord of Destiny, Jesus. I'm not.
One every
That's
episode.
the thing as well. Yeah, like that's the thing. I'm yawning because I'm tired from Muay Thai this morning. Um, literally, like we're doing knees, wearing pads and all that stuff. It was a smaller session, and I was like, wow. Like if you had told me a year ago that I'd arrive late to a session, very on brand for me, but then I'll be doing 50 teep kicks and 50 knees, I will look at you and go, fuck off. Like, like I can't even. I can nearly do the splits, but I also can't. I can touch. I can put my hands flat on the ground, bending over, but I also can't lift my foot over my head. Like that's how weird my flexibility is. If you were to tell me that I'll be able to just about graze someone's head with my foot, I'll tell you to fuck off and go away. So
Yeah.
once you get there and you start, it's good. You just have to realize that that is the thing that makes you happy to do that thing a lot.
Yeah,
I think.
I genuinely do think in the very specific context of like sports and physical fitness and stuff, I think there is, and again, this comes back to my initial point about like movement. I think that there is something incredibly intrinsically interesting and enjoyable about doing things that you couldn't doing about being able to move your body and doing things with your body, right? Like being able, which could probably be, generalized to all sports, like every single one, that they all have this aspect of you can do something incredible, or you can do something that is it's not even a comparative thing. Again, it's so like I feel like it's almost there's something almost internally motivating about it, which is that you're not confined, constrained. because I think so much of to get slightly existential, I think that there is an element of the of living life, where you feel kind of restrained by your body and your ability to do things, and like the lack of ability to do things. And again, not even specifically physical, this goes beyond, but like the ability to go like, hey, I can do X. This is what for a lot of people is the biggest issue when they have an injury that makes them, incapable of doing certain things, or if you were or and is why mental health, like specifically for people with disabilities, for example, uh is such a big topic and a really important thing to and requires support, because the capacity to do things is a really and fundamentally being able to, like, even if it's just like disabled access, for example, things is important, because if you didn't have these things, people are truly limited by themselves, um, by something, whether they can control it or not. And having the ability to control yourself better and to have those limitations disappear and removed, and those barriers removed, and to be able to set your eyes on something and be able to get to it is such a like small victory thing that you can build up and will just make your life feel better in general. And I think that is entirely beyond just the actual like physical implications of like exercise. I think it's one of the reasons why it becomes so thank you, Car. I think that's why it becomes so like addicting and what's the word for it, like stimulating and enchanting to like beat your PBs and to do to have these like little goals you set yourself that you complete, which whether you go to the gym or you're playing sports or doing whatever is such a big deal. It's probably correct to say that everyone would be better off if they did like some physical activity regularly, or like played a sport or did like a sport thing of some kind regularly, because of the ability to have that like little goal or mission statement that you can achieve on, and then have something motivating you in the background, like a little project, right? So I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it so much.
Yeah. Well, like I like that we have the previous episode we've had me talk about Muay Thai, like have you talk about rock climbing. So we're gonna have random like activities dates. And it'll be interesting to see like how social we get in those respective activities as well.
Mm.
It'll be really funny because I think having a good support system is useful and should definitely be harbored, and we should like strive to have those social connections with people as well. So hopefully, you know, those happen.
Yeah, you can't remove one from the other, for sure. Like that's so important. Obviously, some people are much more like they do it and it's for their own personal thing, and they don't necessarily engage that much with other people. But I mean, for me and you, I think it does matter. Or I mean, maybe I'm speaking on your behalf, but I think it does matter for me, especially in terms of motivation and in terms of getting me to open the door, and be proactive and do things, is to have a sense of solidarity with other people who are within the same space, or within, not to be isolated and alienated from the world by interacting with the world. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and of course I'll keep this whole thing posted. I don't know if I won't go back until next week, so by the time we record the next episode, I might not have done it yet. Depends when we record, but if not, then I will be doing it that week. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. I can't. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
saying it, but I'm looking forward.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Easy. So with that being said, now there's nothing else. We're gonna take 2 steps to the rear and get out of here. We're in the wind. See ya.
Slut.